What's up, guys? Matthew Bellman, Ryan Kostrowski. Clearly, there's no fantasy sports to talk about. Talk fitness earlier today. So I don't know about you, man. We get like 10 viewers on things like this. But at this point, like, this is helping me keep my sanity throughout this quarantine, is just having somebody to talk to for a little bit.
No doubt, man. Yeah, I feel you 100%. You know, it's nice having a wife to live with, but let me just tell you that we are definitely bumping heads at this point.
I can see how that happens. Like, did you see that tweet that one of our customers quoted for me? And it was that guy. And have you ever seen the movie Saw, the horror movie?
Yeah.
Okay. And it has the guy in Jigsaw voice and the bad guy from Saw going, "It is day 7, or we're going to be starting a quarantine." He goes, "Option A, you can quarantine with your wife and kids." Option B, he goes, "B, definitely B." I love my kids to death, but we're going to be at each other's throats more and more as the weeks go by.
Yeah, no doubt about that, man. I mean, can only handle so much time at home. I mean, we're used to being at home for a lot of the day, so it's even easier for us. But, I mean, there's just, like you talked about yesterday, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go to not spend any money. It's just shitty times right now. And as I've texted the message earlier this morning, like, definitely feeling it today. Start of opening day was supposed to be today. You know, the Sweet 16 MLB or NBA playoff race. We talked about this earlier. I think it's 60 and sunny here. You know, opening day was supposed to be today for the Indians. Every other year, it's supposed to be opening day around this time here. It's, snowing. But of course, this year it's bright and sunny out. But hey, it's Mother Nature being a you know what.
So, again, I know we're all dealing with this crap. For some of you guys who get to work, I'm actually clearly jealous of you right now. It is a depressing time. You're stuck inside. I spent a lot of time today listening to different economists talk about how the stimulus package that's passed is just awful in terms of what it's going to do for American people, how it's helping corporations. And that's when Republicans and Democrats team up, it's almost never good for the common person. Like, they only are going to agree on something that's not going to be good for us. So some people might benefit from it for the few and far between. It's just overall not going to be a long-term good thing. So just to add to the depression that we're all going through right now, at least the government's, again, not helping us out.
I never expected them to. We talk about the government, but I never expected them to help us out, really.
One of the shows I listened to said that, talking about what other countries are doing and how quickly they're getting things going, and he's like, but this is uniquely American, so it could be a little bit depressing. So that's not the point of why we're here. We wanted to give you guys some version of something to listen to and talk about. Maybe it'll spark something you can do for entertainment. I would love some comments on this video on, other people you think are right up there. So we want to go through our 10 favorite television characters of all time. I actually spent like 2 hours like really working on this, like trying to remember every show that I've binge watched and gone through. So I got my 10, not in a specific order, but I got like 15, 20 honorable mentions up here as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was definitely hard. I feel like I have definitely a prisoner of the moment type mindset. I tried to think a little bit outside the box. And yeah, I will give a shout out before we even start. So I love Sons of Anarchy. It's one of my favorite shows, but I have no one from that show on this list.
Okay. I have one guy in my top 10 only because I watched the entirety of the show from it. But nobody else even made the honorable mention. And I was sitting here for a while thinking about taking him out because I'm going to kick it off with a guy that I know that we're going to agree on, and I know he's going to be both in our top 10, and that's Vic Mackey of The Shield. We've already mentioned him on like 3 other videos that we've done over the last couple of weeks because I've been rewatching it. It's one of, if not my favorite shows of all time, and I introduced you to it, and it's one of yours. If you haven't checked out The Shield, it's available on Hulu. The premise of it is a group of 4 police officers called the Strike Team, and shenanigans pursue. There's definitely some dirty cop stuff going on. And Vic Mackey is the leader of it, played by an actor named Michael Chiklis. And he's just awesome. It's just a great show. It's entertaining. And I think your favorite thing about the show is, like, they don't wait. It took you a season to get into Walking Dead. But in The Shield, episode 1, boom, let's roll.
I love that. There's still a ton of episodes. I love the cast. I love a lot of characters in that show. And it's not that Vic Mackey is so much better than everyone else in the show. It's just he is the show. Like you said, he's the leader of the squad. It's just his presence, his the way he carries himself is just awesome. You know, he's not like the best looking guy, but he carries himself like he's like the stud. You know what I mean? I love that about him. It's just a show that I think if you haven't seen it, you got to watch.
Yeah, I also have Curtis Lemonhead Lemensky as an honorable mention for me. I like him a lot, but when you're talking top 10 favorite characters of all time, you can't include everybody.
I like him a lot too, but agreed.
All right, so that is the one that I knew we would agree on, and I didn't know if we were actually going to get through anybody else.
I'm pretty sure we're going to agree on.
Okay, I think I know who it is, and I almost forgot about him. Go ahead.
George from Seinfeld?
Yeah, George Costanza. I almost completely slipped on him and forgot about him. George from Seinfeld is amazing.
I was going to say, after we talk about George, I actually think we might have another one I'm excited about, but we'll save that. Okay, so Seinfeld is just an iconic show. George is just, it's hard to explain George.
Yeah, if you're the younger viewers, if you haven't watched Seinfeld, because it's been off the air now for 20 plus years, like I'm thinking like the show Cheers when I was a kid. Like I remember my parents watching it. I liked it and stuff like that, but I never got into Cheers the way, for some 25-year-olds who may be watching this, you maybe never got into Seinfeld. Seinfeld is a great show. And the funny part about it, the actual, the richest guy of the group, the main character, Seinfeld, he's the worst character of the group.
Agreed. But they're all great. And I will say it's hard to get into like old shows because like you talked about, like with The Wire, the TV isn't that good. Seinfeld's just a different show though, because it's more about like their interactions. It's hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah, George is definitely up there in my top 10. I had like 6 or 7 pretty easy ones, and George was one of them.
Okay, I don't know if I got 6 or 7, but I think I'm probably maybe close to 6 or 7. So Seinfeld's great. Again, you mentioned it. The writers are Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm and Jerry Seinfeld basically co-opted this entire show. And the funniest part to me about George Costanza, he's actually loosely based on Larry David himself.
Yes.
And when Costanza, a.k.a. Jason Alexander, is reading for the show, he was having trouble with some of the lines and just like try to act it out. He goes, I'm struggling here because no person that's ever walked the face of the earth would actually act this or say this. And Larry David looks him dead in the eye. He goes, that is an absolutely 100% true story. It happened to me, and that's exactly what I did. He goes, got it. I know how to go this. I get it now. I know where we're going.
It's amazing. And yeah, if you watch Curb, and I watch Curb, Larry David and George are very, very similar. So,
gotcha.
All right, you want to connect?
There's a couple of classic Seinfeld episodes. If you're just never got into the show that you have to watch, The Contest is number 1. That's what it's called. Marine Biologist is great. Opposite, when George decides that he is going to stop doing what his intuition is and do the opposite. And he starts picking up hot girls. And also when he chooses to give up sex and he becomes like the smartest guy in the world because he's not thinking about that anymore. And it's not on his mind 24 hours a day.
The other great thing about Seinfeld, in my opinion, you can just put it on and watch it. You don't have to be, it's not a show you have to be, really that focused on. You can have it around the background. You can pick it up at any time.
And you can pick it up from season to season because there legitimately is no overflowing plot. Obviously, you can see the characters have aged, but it is literally called The Show About Nothing.
Exactly. There is no plot. Exactly. So I know a lot of people are either Team Friends or Team Seinfeld. I know people that like both. I'm definitely Seinfeld over Friends.
Well, I used to love the show Friends because there wasn't a lot of options, and I just happened to have some of the DVDs. But as I've gotten older and I've watched more TV, I don't have anybody from, even on my honorable mention, from the show Friends. Okay. It was more just I didn't have a lot of options. It was the only thing I watched when I was in college, besides like some sports, because I was usually going out and partying. I like Chandler, but I mean, he doesn't make a top 10 for me or anything like that.
Agreed.
Who was the next guy you thought we were going to agree on?
I'm not sure you're going to have this guy because it's not someone we talk about. But this is a guy who is easy for me. And this show is a little bit before my time, but I grew up on it still. I watched it a lot when I was younger. Al Bundy from Married with Children.
I do not have Al Bundy anywhere on here. I love Al Bundy. I love that show when I was a kid. I watched it a lot, even though my mom said it wasn't allowed. I still found a way to check it out. I didn't even think about him, actually.
Okay, well, he made it for me just because when I think about TV show characters, he's one of the first people I think of. Not only is there no one like him, you'll never see anyone like that again. If you go watch like YouTube videos of the stuff he says, I mean, they wouldn't make it one episode nowadays. So it's a different type of TV. you definitely have to open your mind a little bit and not care too much about political correctness.
So my friends joke around and call me Al Bundy sometimes because I had multiple games in high school where I scored 4 or 5 touchdowns playing running back. And if I ever even mention it at one point, I'm like, oh, here comes Al Bundy again talking about his 4 touchdowns he had in high school. Like, shit, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't think I talked about it that many times. Like, I know I brought it up once maybe, but yes, I can relate to that. So here's one that was like one of the easiest ones for me to write down that anybody who watches the show will probably agree with me. I don't think you've ever really watched it in any kind of length. Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. Great ensemble cast with Chris Pratt and Aziz Ansari, everything like that. But for me, Ron Swanson is one of the greatest TV characters. No questions about it. Anybody who likes that show would probably have him in their top 10.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen a bunch of that show. It's not a show I've ever watched with regularity though. So I definitely know who you're talking about. He's hilarious. I know that we're going to be different because I know you're going to have at least one guy from The Office too, which is another show.
I have nobody from The Office. The Office is all about ensemble. The Dwight-Jim relationship makes that show, but the characters individually, I didn't have a single one of them, and I thought about it long and hard because I've watched The Office like half of America, like 45,000 times.
Well, okay, a guy I'm confident that you'll have that I don't have, only because I never watched the show, but I was asking Sam, and she brought this guy up, Walter White from, what's it called?
Breaking Bad. I don't have Walt, but I do have 2 members of Breaking Bad, one in my top 10 and one in my honorable mention. My honorable mention is Saul, played by, I can't think of his real name right now. Saul was played, I can't think of it. I'll look it up here in a second. But within my top 10, I wanted to get a little bit off of the main characters. Like one of the reasons we picked Vic Mackey, because he is the main character. But I went with Mike Ehrmantraut, Mike from Breaking Bad, who is beloved by everybody who watches that show. He also comes over to Better Call Saul. He's awesome. So I'm willing to bet at least one person watching this will be like, yes, Mike from Breaking Bad, full name Mike Ehrmantraut. It was awesome. He definitely helped make that show. I have Jesse Pinkman on here as well. But as great as Bryan Cranston was, it wasn't his character. I thought the acting was great, but like his character wasn't perfect or anything like that. I thought some of the other characters made the show.
Okay, fair enough. It's never a show I've really watched, in great length. So Vic Mackey was right up there as my number 1, but then I really started to think about it, and I have 2 other guys that are right there with him. I can't decide in my order of my top 3 guys, and one of them, I know you're not going to have this guy because this show is very much off the beaten path. It was only out for 6 years. It was an HBO show before HBO got big. And that show and the character is actually the same name, Arliss. I'm not sure.
Played by Robert Wool, but I never actually watched the show because it was also a little bit before I was into it. I never went back to see it.
Okay, yes. Yeah, so he's a sports agent, and it's very much like Jerry Maguire-ish, but better. More real, funnier, in my opinion. Just a great show. I was always into that type of stuff growing up. It came out in 1996. I was 12 years old when it came out. It was a show I watched religiously for those 6 years and even afterwards. And it was kind of like a show before its time. There weren't shows like that then. There are tons of shows now like that because ESPN and all those, sports channels have blown up. But this show was kind of transcendent. And he's right up there. And the other guy who you might have, I know you don't like The Wire like I do, but one of the first guys I thought of is Omar from The Wire.
So I got Omar written down under honorable mention only because I didn't think I deserved to put him in the top 10. I loved him, but I never finished watching The Wire. I watched the first 3 seasons, and then we stopped getting it on Netflix, and I haven't gone back to watch it since then.
Okay, yeah, he's definitely in, maybe my number 1 overall, definitely in my top 3. Just a great character in a show full of great characters. I have another Wire character lower down on my list.
Which one is it?
Snoop.
Was he not in the first couple? Oh, was she later in the show?
Later in the show, and it's a girl. And if I didn't tell you it's a girl, you might think it's a dude because it's, she's very much in that circle.
Well, Snoop's a boy's name, Snoop Dogg. So, I mean, that's, I only know one of them. You mentioned sports shows. A guy I was going to put into my honorable mention who wasn't going to make it was Joe from Ballers. Because as great as The Rock is in that show, I like his partner Joe even better.
It's funny. Like, I feel like I got you on that show, but then I never even, you've watched way more of it than I have. That's
Okay,
a show
I've
I need to
watched.
watch again. Do
Yeah,
they
I
still
mean,
make
I've
new
watched it all the
Ballers?
way through twice. What's that?
Do they still make new episodes of Ballers?
They do, but I'm still on my ex's Prime account, and I think she stopped her free HBO subscription, so I got stuck halfway before the season that's like current right now.
Okay, fair enough.
But I like Joe better than I like the other characters in that show. I thought he was awesome.
Yeah, I agree with that. Speaking of kind of like on that same Ballers type tip, a guy that I have on my list that made it pretty easily was Ari Gold from Entourage.
I thought about him. I have him in my honorable mention. He did not quite make my top 10 only because you had to be very select. And he
Sure.
got a little bit more annoying as the show progressed and he got a little bit over the top. Because the first couple seasons of Entourage, Ari was like, oh my God, this guy's awesome. And then you find out Jeremy Piven's kind of a douchebag in real life and he becomes a little bit less enjoyable. But he made my top 10 because those first couple seasons of Entourage, he had you laughing.
So I feel like I had to have someone from Entourage, and I looked deep into the whole cast of characters, and they all had kind of a flaw. They're all really good with a flaw.
It's a good ensemble versus
Yes.
a good individual character. Yep.
Agreed. Maybe much like The Office, as you were saying. So, all right, why don't you go next?
Okay, so I'm going to bring up, I got two guys from The Walking Dead in my top 10. I didn't want to double up, but I have two guys from that show I love, and then I have a third character within the honorable mention. So Rick Grimes, who how far along are you now in season 2? Did you guys watch any more since we talked last?
So we are, they found that they have zombies in the barn, and they have zombies in the barn, and Lori's pregnant. She like thinks it's Rick's. Shane's like, no. And I'm like, no. Like, how the hell does she know? But she's like, even says to Shane, like, even if it's yours, like, it's not yours.
I think that's the point of what she means.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And then Rick, at one point, Lori's like, came clean about being pregnant after he found the pills. And he's like, anything else you want to tell me? And she's like, Shane. And he's like, I know. I mean,
the first night.
Yeah, I knew that he knew. But okay, go on. I'll let you speak.
Okay,
that's who I am.
All right, it's good. And I've watched Walking Dead almost at least until it gets stupid, which I don't like the last couple of seasons because it goes on forever. But the first 6, 7 are really enjoyable. Rick Grimes to me might be right up there with Ron Swanson and Vic Mackey as my number one overall favorite TV character. What you're watching right now in season 2 shapes where his character starts to go and the changes that you're about to absorb with who Rick Grimes is. I mean, like I said, in a world that changes like this, you will change as a person. And as the leader of the group, I mean, he has to make some adjustments. Because you remember, he's such a nice guy, right?
He is. I'm starting to see a change because the doctor, is calling them humans, is calling them whatever he's calling them. And Rick's like, finally, like, no. And usually he'd be the guy that's like trying to save them. So, yeah, I get that.
So hold on.
Here's my question, though, to you while I'm thinking about it. Because Sam and I were talking about this. I know it's a TV show, so that's like, how they're like pleading with him to try to stay at the house?
Yeah.
Like, they can easily just they can overpower the people in that house. And that's shitty. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but I mean, at this point in life, it's not really about being right and wrong.
That is right there. That question is 100% the theme of the show. Trying to maintain the sense of being a human being and a sense of humanity and doing the right thing versus other people out there who just clearly aren't doing the right thing and are just going to take whatever it is that they want. And you can see the difference between Shane and Rick right there, where Shane says, we just take the place. And Rick's like, no, this is Herschel's place. We got to leave Herschel have it. He was here first. He raised his family here. We are guests.
Shane
and
hasn't even said that yet.
But you can tell that's what he's thinking, right?
Well, of course. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking it.
So the struggle between Shane and Rick in season 2 is where also I feel like there starts to be more surprises on the show after season 2 and the latter part of it, where you start watching things a little bit to be more unexpected, in my opinion.
And
Daryl
when
Dixon
shot Otis, that was unexpected, and I like that.
Yep. Daryl Dixon is the other guy that should be up on this honorable mention list for me. So I have Rick up there, but Daryl he's fighting for a spot in the top 10 as well.
I thought you said there was another guy that I haven't met yet.
The other guy who's in my top 10 and you won't meet him for seasons. But in my opinion, he's the greatest villain in TV history, Negan. So remember the name Negan. You will hear about him for a while before he ever actually shows up. He's a reason to keep that show going for a couple more seasons because without question,
human?
Yeah, he's a human.
Okay.
But his name is Negan, and he is charismatic as hell. To say the very, very least, he is super enjoyable. Season 3 has another great villain as well, and you'll like him, but Negan kicks his butt out of the water. And then the fourth guy from Walking Dead who's in my honorable mention is Abraham, who you'll meet in a couple seasons as well. He's just, I think he's cool.
So I know you like Daryl a lot.
Yep.
And Daryl is a good character. He's becoming more of a good character. And yeah, I like that scene with Merle.
Okay. I thought you would. It's just it's a show with a lot of characters you like, and there's a lot of evolving characters and a lot of changing characters because obviously people will die in an apocalyptic situation. But it's a good show driven by the characters, and there's a bunch of them up there that like it for me because it is one of my favorite shows ever.
Yeah, I'm getting more into it, and I'm excited, and we'll go watch them after hearing that whole speech. So
it's also a show for somebody who's never watched it twice, and I was telling you this yesterday. When you know how Rick changes as the show progresses, and then you go back to watch it, and like season 2 has some of those moments that you've kind of mentioned already. So I like watching character development.
Okay, same. So, all right, I'm going to go on. And when I said this about Sons of Anarchy earlier, I forgot to mention that I had someone from Mayans MC, which is a show that it's only 2 seasons deep right now. It's a show I really like, and it's a Sons of Anarchy spinoff. You haven't seen it, correct?
Correct. None of it.
So big reason I wanted to put this guy on the list was because I know you haven't seen it, and this is the show you got to watch. So the character that I love is Easy Reyes, and he's the main character in the show. And I just think you'll love this character. He's deep. There's just so much to him. His, not even giving away anything. His mother got killed, and he's just a great character. He's the best character for me in all of Sons and Mayans. And okay. Mayans is different than Sons because it's a Mexican gang. It's just a little bit different in a lot. It's a little bit different in a lot of ways. However, it's also very similar. A lot of the same characters. I cannot wait for the new seasons of Mayans MC. And just thinking about that, I knew I had to have someone on here.
Okay, I have Jax in my top 10, but it was more like I felt like a lifetime achievement award because overall I wanted to honor the show in that way. And like I like Opie, I like Tig, and I like a bunch of these guys, but like Jax is he's the main character. I think he is a very, very good character, but I definitely flirted with taking him off for a couple other guys on the honorable mention portion of it.
So I went with Easy over Jax because Easy has again, he's just a very deep character. There's a lot to him. He's not like the brashest guy in the world, but there's just so much to him. And I think a lot of it, you will like and appreciate. Like, for instance, he's got a photographic memory on everything in his life. So and it's not like it's used like a superpower throughout the show, but it's sometimes it's just awesome. So I think you'll love it.
I like when shows give you realistic reasons why this person is better at everything than everybody else. So if you ever watch Prison Break, Schofield, the main character, they say in episode 1 or 2, and they're the smartest person you've ever met and how they can think of this. He is almost freakishly intelligent, and what you see, this gear, he sees how the entire thing is built in the same amount of time. And so you can understand why he outsmarts everybody because he is freakishly intelligent. Mike Ross from the show Suits is just like that as well, and I have him in my honorable mention. Suits is a fun show for you. Okay, it's got Bunker from
Okay.
It's the show that Meghan Markle, that's married to Prince Harry or whatever, that she came from on USA. Okay. It's definitely one of those shows that's fun for a couple seasons and then gets over the top unbelievable. And even though I continued to watch it, I wasn't sure why I was still watching it.
Okay, fair enough. I was thinking about characters from older shows from when I was a kid, but none of those I felt were really deserving of this type of list. One guy that go ahead.
Got one that time. The fresh.
Ooh.
Did you ever
Yeah.
watch The Fresh Prince? Will
Oh,
Smith?
yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Watched every
Okay.
episode. So, yeah, wow. I was thinking like Saved by the Bell, all those. I didn't even think about, I was thinking about
Yep.
Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Did you ever watch that?
Did watch that starring Mark Kerr. You actually played in the NBA for a little hot minute.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, Fresh Prince was a transcendent show. He could easily have been in the list. That's a great call. Actually, thinking about that, maybe he
Yeah.
would be on my list.
Yeah, I did end up taking him out of the top 10 because I had completely forgotten about George Costanza. And that was an easy switch once I thought about it to take out Carlton in exchange for George Costanza. But I loved Carlton Banks, so he was up there for me.
Okay, I would
All right.
definitely have like Will Smith over Carlton Banks, but I get it. I didn't even hear you say Carlton Banks before. Okay, so for me,
Gotcha. Yeah, we have a poor connection.
we do have a poor connection. Do you think that's coming from my computer?
I don't know.
I don't know either. It's
Yeah.
weird because it like just started. So a guy and a show that I don't think you've watched is Oz. A lot of great characters.
Watched a handful of episodes of season 1, but that's it.
So many people die. Like there's a lot of seasons of Oz and a lot of people die. It's a prison show. So a lot of like the classic HBO characters are on the show. My favorite character is a guy by the name of Adabisi. He's in the show. It's just he's a great character. I think about that show. I think about him. He's like this big black guy, and he wears this like little beret hat. It's what I think about when I think of the show. So I thought he deserved it. This spot here.
Okay.
And I only have one left. How about you?
Well, I got 3 left in my top 10 actually, and then a whole bunch of honorable mentions we can go through just to talk about them.
All right, cool. Let's finish. Who do you have left in your top 10?
All right, Jack Donaghy from 30 Rock, Alec Baldwin.
Okay.
So it's funnier to me because I've actually had that show on in the background lately. And all these jokes, and again, because I'm into like politics and stuff like that, like all the jokes that they're making that I liked way back in the day, now that I understand them are even funnier. But all the things that they're talking about that have ended up coming true, almost Simpsons like, about some of the jokes that they've made about rich people and how he's going to do this. Because y'all know like Baldwin plays like the Trump character and stuff like that. And a lot of, I think that comes from what he played as Jack Donaghy, is this, big wig corporate executive. He's like a character of what you would expect, like a rich old man, kind of doing and something like this. So anybody who's probably, but I don't think you've ever seen it.
30 Rock?
Yeah.
I've seen it. It's just not a show that I like got into. It's definitely like one of those, sitcom shows when I was growing up. I didn't like the cast. Who was the main
Alec
character?
Baldwin, Tina Fey.
Who was the main character? Oh, wait.
Tina Fey and Alec Baldwin. You're
You know
thinking
what?
of Third Rock from the Sun.
You're right. I was thinking about that. And I know the show you're speaking of, but definitely didn't really watch much Third Rock from the Sun, but watched more episodes of that than 30 Rock.
All right, Bob Odenkirk is the name of Saul Goodman, too. I was just trying to think of that earlier.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering why you went for a Third Rock from the Sun type guy from the show, but clearly I was off.
Yeah, 30 Rock is great. Third Rock from the Sun I've never seen. You're thinking of John Lithgow and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes, and I just didn't like that. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I've never even seen an episode of that, I don't think.
Okay.
All right. I also have Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother, played by Neil Patrick Harris.
Okay, yeah. I watched that show. I never watched it like through and through. Just another one of those sitcom shows or network television shows. I certainly understand. I mean, he's a great character from the episodes I've seen. I've seen quite a few.
Got it. All right. Who else you got?
So I have 2 left, and one I already mentioned. I have Snoop from The Wire, who's introduced later in the show, and I think again, she's just she's different. Again, she's female. That's like, but she's in the crew, and she brings a really, I think, cool element to the show. My favorite scene of The Wire is Snoop. I think it must be the first scene of season 4 or 5. I can't remember, where she's buying a nail gun. And it's just an awesome season. If you watch that scene, it's a really cool scene.
Knowing that coronavirus might last for a while, I've actually seen it up on Prime thinking, maybe I could just rewatch The Wire because, well, I have the free time right now.
it's a commit. Like even like I don't really want to watch it through and through again because it's a commitment. But Sam hasn't seen it, so we might make that commitment as well after The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I mean, shows fly by these days, so.
Exactly. And then my last one, I feel like this is a cheapie because it's not a real person, but I had to do it because I love this character. I'm not like the biggest fan of this show, but I like it. And that's Peter Griffin from Family Guy.
Oh, okay.
I just think he's hilarious. Like he makes that show. I know there's a lot of funny characters in that show. I like them all. I feel like you might be a bigger Stewie or Brian fan, but I think Peter
Brian. I like Brian and I like Peter, and I like all the characters. Honestly, that show has to me what I mentioned with Jim and Dwight, the Meg Peter relationship, because Peter making fun of Meg to me is my favorite part of that show.
Me too. So Peter, I think again, yeah, you can make a case for a lot of that characters on that show, but I wanted to call him out there.
Homer Simpson's another one if you want to go way back to like the Simpsons and things like that.
I'm a bigger Family Guy fan than
so am I.
South Park or Simpsons.
Ditto, me too.
Okay, cool. I know a lot of people think Family Guy is stupid, and it's not.
It is stupid sometimes. Yeah. Like when he's fighting a chicken for 10 minutes, you're like, dude, seriously, still like with this. But it also has some of the best moments of TV. Like there are pee your pants, laugh out loud, funny moments.
Yes.
I always think of one of my favorite parts was Stewie brings in a drawing to Lois and Peter into the kitchen. And they're like, oh, Stewie, this is lovely. This is so great. And he walks away thinking it's all great. And then he hears him goes, oh, my God, when you said you wanted to put it on the fridge, I almost died laughing. He's like, yeah, it looks like Muhammad Ali drew it.
So I was just watching like the other day. You can put like when the Cardinals, I don't know if I tagged you in this, but when the Cardinals traded for DeAndre Hopkins and they were like, this is Bill O'Brien right now. And it's Peter Griffin like on the TV show. And he's like, you can have a boat or you can have a mystery box that, it might be a boat or blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I've always I'll take the mystery box. I've always wanted a boat. And Lois is like, she's like, why don't you just take the boat? And he's like, the mystery box could have the boat. It's just, I probably explained that wrong, but you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I honestly feel like taking the mystery box was a better decision than trading for David Johnson. So I think Peter Griffin, a television animated character, is still smarter than Bill O'Brien right now.
Probably. And then you talked about just switching, changing courses real quick. You talked about honorable mention. I had one honorable mention. And the funny thing about this is it's kind of unfair to have him on this list because it's not one character. But he could also be, this character could be my number one, but also maybe not even shouldn't be on the list. And that's Dave Chappelle. Just him from the Chappelle Show.
Yeah, I thought about that as well because all of his characters are great. I did actually consider putting him up there, but I thought it was unfair as well, so I didn't use him. The Chappelle Show is great. Find it available if you haven't binge watched it yet. I know we're a little bit older than some of the people watching this. You probably know who Dave Chappelle is. His stand-up is great. His show is great. Everything he touches is gold. He is just, without question, one of the funniest people to ever walk the face of the earth.
No doubt about that. I mean, his show might be the funniest show of all time, in my opinion.
So a couple more that I'll bring up. And I know you tried watching this show and did not like it at all. But most people who watch it love it. And that's Schitt's Creek. So I got David Rose as one of the guys I like on there. Again, that's an ensemble cast. And the mom, Moira, played by Catherine O'Hara, who's from like Home Alone and Beetlejuice, is great.
Yes.
Both of the siblings are good. Eugene Levy, who might be the biggest name on there, the guy that plays the dad from American Pie. He's my least favorite character on there, but I like the brother David the best. I know a lot of people like Schitt's Creek who have seen it. I just know you tried watching and just weren't into it.
I don't like it, but you're right. Most people like it. Sam likes it. My parents like it. Again, there's so many options where I feel like I don't have to watch it, but another one where, I never really got into it.
Okay, so that show, just to go into some of these honorable mentions that a lot of you guys will probably agree about, reminds me a lot of the show Arrested Development. Wealthy family loses all their money, putting them into kind of like a poor mentality where they don't want to do hijinks and sue. So I got Job, played by Will Arnett from Arrested Development, as another character I like a lot.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. I was thinking about characters. I was a bigger Modern Family fan than Arrested Development. But to each his own.
Yeah, Modern Family I liked for a couple of seasons, but like most network TV these days, after like 3 or 4 seasons, you're like, okay,
Yes.
it never moved forward, which is biggest problem with anything on ABC, NBC, CBS, USA. A lot of these, it's just a lower form of comedy a lot of times. So it's funny for a couple of years and then it gets old. The show Blackish was the same thing with Anthony Anderson. I laughed my tail off for a couple of seasons and then it just never got better. It just got worse. A lot of classic network television these days do it. And that's another guy that I have is James Spader from The Blacklist, plays Red Reddington, the criminal, the head of this one. But after a season and a half, I couldn't stand the show anymore because it just got so unbelievable. But I did enjoy his character. And I love James Spader's character for the one season on The Office as well, Robert California.
I never saw that, but I definitely saw The Blacklist. Solid
Got
show.
Bad quickly, though. I mean, it was good for like a season and a half, and then you're like, oh, really? Like, really? Like, okay, the FBI showed up within a nick of time, within 5 seconds for 32 straight episodes. You got there within a minute of needing to be there. Like, it just is so unreal after a while.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of shows are like that. You just have to. You're right. That show gets exceptionally unbelievable.
And that's where like Netflix and Prime and HBO and FX and AMC, they're a cut above the other places to get television from because they develop their characters. Like Sons of Anarchy, I really liked it for about 4 or 5 years. And then after a while, like, dude, you can't gunfight every 45 minutes and never get hit. Who are you gunfighting with? Toddlers who can't even like hold up a version of a weapon? Like, you can't gunfight 3 times a day and never die. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. This is true. But you could say that about like, Walking Dead. Like they're zombies.
Yep. For sure.
They're different. I mean, you just have to kind of embrace what you're watching. But I get what you're saying, and a lot of shows do kind of go on too long, it seems.
Yeah, at least in Walking Dead, and it happens more, like people die. Again, you can't kill off Rick. It's the one person you can't really kill off, but people die over and over and over again. Sons of Anarchy, like it closes the last couple of years, more people start.
But like Rick surviving, like when he's in the tank and like all that is, I mean, no one's surviving that. Like at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
I mean, but you have to like, again, I mean, there's also, you have to allow your brain a little leeway because you're watching a show or a movie or whatever it is.
Definitely. All right. Just so we can rattle off some of these and see. Did you ever watch Scrubs?
Another one, kind of like How I Met Your Mother, where like,
I've seen it a little bit. Okay, because that show actually to me has a lot of great characters. Dr. Cox, played by John C. McGinley. Most of you guys would know him if you saw him. Been a character actor for a long time. Been in a bunch of movies I liked, but always as like a smaller role. But also the guy who plays Janitor, great character in that one. And then again, like Zach Braff and Donald Faison, who plays like what's his name from like Clueless and like
what's his name in Clueless? I love that movie though.
Murray.
Yeah, that movie just like makes me think of my youth.
Yeah, it's a chick movie, but like guys like it too. I know it's like my sister and like my ex's like favorite movie, but like I could still watch it over and over again and have no problem with it.
Well, you had an older sister, right?
Younger.
Okay, well, I have an older sister, and it was kind of like, I don't know. She loved that movie, too.
Yeah, I think a lot of girls love that movie, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. So you got any more?
Yeah, I got a few more. Ray Donovan, played by Liev Schreiber, the main show, Ray Donovan of Ray Donovan. He's awesome. Love that show. I also like John Voight's character, Mickey, in that show as well. Thought about that one. I brought up Parks and Rec earlier. And it's got a bunch of good characters in it. Ron Swanson makes the list, but I also have Chris Traeger, played by Rob Lowe, is hilarious in that show.
Okay, I get that.
Sam Axe, played by Bruce Campbell from the Evil Dead movies, from the show Burn Notice. I'm probably the only one who knows that one, so I didn't want to get into too much detail on that. And then here's one, I think you've watched this, Kenny Powers.
I have I've seen some of Eastbound and Down. What's his name? Danny McBride.
Danny McBride. Yeah.
So I think he's hilarious, but like not in every role. Like in his funniest, I love him in Pineapple Express.
Yeah.
But I don't know. From what I've seen, I've never really loved Eastbound and Down.
Okay, well, I gotcha. I'm going to hit you up after we're done with Walking Dead that if you want to switch up to a comedy, because there's a show called Vice Principals. It's only 2 seasons, starring Danny McBride and Shane. Shane from The Shield.
I feel like we I don't know if you got us on that. We started that at some point. Is Shane gay in the show?
He's not supposed to be, but he definitely you think he is. But he's
Okay.
married to a woman, so I think they like try to confuse you on purpose.
Maybe it's that I don't really like Danny McBride as the main character, and that I like him
Okay,
as
he
just
is
like
more of a character actor. I get that.
I just I like him in small doses. I guess is the best way to put it. But I know a lot of people love that show, Eastbound and Down, and you'd think that I would love Kenny Powers. I understand why you have it on there.
Yeah, it's baseball too, so I figure
Yeah.
anything baseball is going to get you a little tight in the pants. Dennis Reynolds from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is a great ensemble show as well. I had to pick my favorite character on that one because I've watched It's Always Sunny over and over and over again. Um, and again, just a couple of shout outs, people I couldn't put up there. Marty from the show Ozark, which is played by Jason Bateman, and Matthew McConaughey's character in season 1 of True Detective.
Yeah, great call right there. It's just hard because there's only one season, but I don't disagree with that at all. And I do love Jason Bateman. I think he's just a really good actor.
Yeah, and that's why, like, as I was making my list, I have my top tens over here, and I'm like right away, Ron Swanson, Vic Mackey, Rick Grimes, put them all right up there really easily, and then I'm starting to list people under honorable mention so I can move them over and kind of filter in the good list. And I'm sure I'm probably missing people too. Like that's the hard part. Like
Oh,
I don't even have Dwight Schrute written down, but I
yeah,
would talk about with the office. I like Jim relationship, but not Dwight.
for sure. But honestly, doing this list also just made me miss sports that much more because, like, I don't even love TV all that much. I like TV. I mean, who doesn't like TV every now and then? But I really like to watch sports, and this just sucks.
For sure, man. Like I've been watching TV a lot years, and you're kind of stuck being home. And then like you're not really, I don't know, maybe some of you guys keep while I'm home doing dad stuff and having dinner and helping out with homework. I'm not really in the mood to go back out at 8 o'clock. So you become more of a homebody. And a lot of time I'd be watching sports, but if I wanted to hang out with the missus back in the day, you'd put on a show. So that's why we've watched a bunch of these things. Also, working at home for the last 4 years, like I've seen Parks and Rec 12 times, but honestly, like I'm not paying attention most of the time. It's just on the background when I do DFS research and stuff like that.
For sure, I get that 100%. So now you can, I at least get into the shows. But yeah, I mean, you're right, and on all those points, like leaving your house past like 7, 8 o'clock is usually not something I'm ever trying to do. But sports is where I'd usually be putting on. I'm excited. Well, hopefully MLB at some point, man. Like, goddamn.
Yeah, I mean, when from like the ages of 16, once I started like going out and like trying to chase girls and started having a few all through college, up through my mid 20s, I'd never watched TV. That's why I said I like the show Friends just because I owned the DVDs. It was the only thing I ever watched if I just needed something there. But like I never watched TV. And then I had kids, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, now I'm stuck at home. And that's when I started to get into fantasy sports really because I needed some sort of like competitive outlet I could do, in my house. And then when DFS came out, boom, mic drop. I get to analyze math every day, watch sports, and have like something that can get the adrenaline rolling. Like it was perfect.
I never watched TV either. I never had time for TV. I was either like doing stuff I probably shouldn't have been doing, working out. And that's certainly not watching TV, except for like honestly, the only TV shows I feel like that I watched in college was Entourage and Chappelle's Show, and those were like Sunday nights, which is a great time for TV.
Can you elaborate on doing things you probably weren't supposed to be doing?
No,
No, not on YouTube, not for your mom and dad or your wife to hear.
negative. We can talk after though.
Yeah. Yeah. My kids could potentially watch these someday since, they know how to use YouTube. So, yeah, you have to kind of mum's the word a little bit on some things, right?
At this point, I mean, it's probably only me and you talking to ourselves right now. I doubt anyone's watching. So
Probably, but this is the one thing kind of keeping my sanity throughout this week right now is like just getting on and having some adult interaction. Outside tomorrow's supposed to be 50 and sunny, so I'm definitely planning like a long walk or run outside tomorrow just to You got to do what you got to do these days to stay sane.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Couldn't have put it any better myself. Stay active, and yeah, hopefully, well, we'll definitely have another video tomorrow because we'll think of something.
Definitely. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.